bit sassy, a little bit crazy, a little bit classy. We got dreams and we got goals. We're just a couple of old sassholes.
Hi. Hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome to A Couple of Sassholes podcast. Oh, I'm Brooklyn Johnson.
That's your line.
It was.
Because I am Heather Terry, and this is my line.
Yes, it is. Way to go. Shit. Oh, y'all. It's our power hour of true crime where we talk about fucked up people doing fucked up shit, usually for fucked up reasons, sometimes for not a lot of reasons, sometimes because people are fucking weird and crazy.
They are. Not sometimes, they are all the time.
They are all, you're right.
All
it's
the time.
It's a constant shower of crazy.
Crazy girl. So crazy.
Crazy girls and boys. Crazy people.
Yes.
Okay, you guys. So I'm going to have to just walk up to the diving board, right on in.
We're jumping in.
We've got to.
Okay, go buy our holiday merch. Okay, that's it.
Yeah, we can talk about, we'll mention that again in the end.
Okay.
Just so that we can mention it twice.
Yes.
Merch store, mouthy merch. Make sure you buy.
Yes.
And the reason that we have to fucking shimmy on down this chimney quickly is because I have a serial killer today.
You did? Is that why you brought your book report?
And I keep hitting the mic and Jess is going to punch my throat.
Well.
So here are all my papers and I'm ready to go. It's a lot.
Okay, I'm ready.
Can I tell you my works cited page of the people who have helped me put this together?
I think I need a stretch first.
You
Okay,
might.
go. Okay. I'm ready.
My bitch Wikipedia.
Yes.
Also historylink.org, Los Angeles Times, and biography.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yay.
Woo! Let's do it.
Oh, chest bump or no?
Oh, I wish we could.
No.
Later.
Okay.
After, when we're done.
Okay.
So we're going to start off with our victims today because, as I mentioned, we are covering a serial killer. So strap on in. This one's a long one.
Okay.
Buckled up.
I did it.
Yolanda Washington is a 19-year-old sex worker. She operated along a specific stretch of Sunset Boulevard. Her naked body was discovered on October 18th, 1977 on a hillside near the Ventura Freeway. Investigators found that her body had been washed prior to being abandoned. Faint ligature marks on her neck, wrists, and ankles indicated that she had been bound. And then evidence also sadly revealed that she was raped and then strangled.
No, right out the gate.
Well, I'm going strong,
Sad.
hard, and fast.
Right out of the gate.
Yes.
Poor lady.
So that was October 18th. On November 1st. Pay attention to dates for me if you don't mind.
I will do that.
Not that hard, but you know what I mean. Like just how
The best to my ability.
Yes.
Okay.
On November 1st, 1977, police were called to Alta Terrace Drive in La Crescenta, where a teenage girl's naked body was found in a residential area. A homeowner had covered her with a tarp to shield the view from neighborhood children. Oh. She was just dumped in a neighborhood.
No.
Ligature marks on her neck, wrists, and ankles confirmed that she had been bound and strangled. Forensics noted light-colored fibers on her eyelid. The coroner's report revealed that she had also been raped and unfortunately sodomized.
God.
Nothing I'm going to talk about today is not with a preface of terribly, horribly, unfortunately. Just filter all those words throughout. The victim was later identified as a 15-year-old girl named Judith Lynn Miller, a former Hollywood high school student who had dropped out and become a runaway. She was last seen alive on Halloween, speaking with a man in a large two-tone sedan on Sunset Boulevard. Posing as undercover officers, the killers handcuffed her and took her to an auto upholstery shop in Glendale, where she was murdered.
Ugh.
On November 6th, 5 days later, the nude body of 21-year-old Elisa Teresa, or Lisa, like Lisa, how does Scott say it? Lisa, right? Lisa, there we go. Fucking struggle. Lissa Caston was discovered near the Chevy Chase Country Club in Glendale. Her body bore the distinctive ligature marks around her neck, wrists, and ankles that linked her murder to the ongoing series of killings. Evidence showed that she had been brutally raped and strangled, but not sodomized. This is a really shitty luck of the draw on the sodomy thing.
Right.
Lissa was a waitress and a professional dancer with the all-female cabaret troupe, the LA Knockers. Really like the name. Was unlike the previous victim, she was not a sex worker. She wasn't, I said worker. a drug user or one runaway. The killers targeted her after spotting her driving home from work.
No.
They pulled her over on her own street, posed as police officers by flashing a fake badge, and handcuffed her under the pretense that they needed her for questioning.
What year was this again?
77.
Jeez.
In early November 1977, the killers attempted to abduct 24-year-old Catherine Lore Baker. She was actually the daughter of actor Peter Lorre, who was known for a role as none other than a serial killer.
Stop.
In M by Fritz Lang. I've never heard of it. Did not go down that gravy train. I was 10 years before my parents boned it out, so a little too early for my time. The men posed as undercover police officers and requested her identification. Get ready. When they saw her driver's license, like she opened it up, she had a photo of her as a child sitting on her father's lap, who was the famous actor. And so they released her unharmed. They were afraid that if they killed a celebrity's daughter, it would become too big of a thing. She only realized later on after they were arrested and then called in and told them what happened.
Man, could you imagine? Getting pulled over and then being like, oh, you can go. And then you see those people on the news years later. No,
right.
That's terrifying.
On November 13th, okay, so not long. And that's why I say early November for the last attempted abduction.
Yeah.
But on November 13th, 1977, 12-year-old Dolores Ann, she went by Dolly, Cepeda, and 14-year-old Sonja Marie Johnson boarded an RTD bus, which I had to look up. That is a regional transportation district.
Who would know that?
I don't know. Bus at Eagle Rock Plaza. They were last seen exiting the bus at York Boulevard and North Avenue 46, approaching a two-tone sedan with two men inside. A week later, on November 20th, their decomposing bodies were discovered by a young boy treasure hunting near Dodger Stadium.
So sad.
So much sad in that. It's almost like hard to comprehend the sad.
Okay.
Both girls had been strangled and raped. Also on November 20th, same day.
No.
The body of a 20-year-old Christina Weckler was found on a hillside between Glendale and Eagle Rock. A talented honors student at the Art Center College of Design, Christina was described as loving and a serious young woman who had a really bright future ahead of her. Her body bore the same ligature marks and bruises, and investigators observed, I'm sorry for saying this, but it was in it, and so I hate that I'm saying it, but they could see blood coming from her rectum. Unlike earlier victims, she had 2 puncture wounds on her arm, in which they found out through toxicology that she had been injected by Windex.
Okay, this is a lot.
Yeah, going in.
Man, I wasn't ready. Okay.
How can you be?
I mean, right?
We're talking terrible things. If you're ready, then
yeah,
maybe that's a sign. I don't know. The badly decomposed body of 28-year-old aspiring actress Evelyn Jane King. Couldn't you just hear that name? Evelyn Jane King. She sounds famous.
Very
old money actress.
Yeah.
I love that. Unfortunately, she was found on November 23rd. Missing since November 9th. Her remains were too decayed to confirm sexual assault or torture, but she had been strangled like the others. Somehow it took all of these killings within the same area and literally only days apart for them to finally create, I say finally, but we'll unpack that, a 30-officer task force spanning multiple departments to hunt the Hillside Strangler. I say this because it's so hard to just comprehend that it was so quick. Yeah. So all these bodies were showing up basically November 1st to November 23rd.
So out of nowhere.
So it's like, okay, 2.5 weeks in November and all of this is happening. It's like, yeah, they did react fast. But what are you doing when you wake up one day as a police officer and there are 3 bodies found in that same day, killed at different times in different city, different parts of the city.
Yeah, especially in that time frame.
Oh my gosh!
Like they can Google or news is being updated. They have to wait for the news to come on TV.
Right.
Like,
it's wild.
That is wild.
Sadly, the killings don't stop.
Fuck.
18-year-old business student Lauren Ray Wagner was found on November 29th, 1977 in the hills near Mount Washington. Her body bore ligature marks and evidence of torture, including burn marks on her hands. Witnesses later reported seeing two men abducting Lauren near her parked car the night before. One neighbor described the men as a tall, younger individual and an older, shorter man with bushy hair. During her abduction, Lauren was heard shouting, "You won't get away with this."
That's and they didn't turn him. Did they turn him in?
That is. I have 482 questions on that. Right. So, did this happen and the neighbor didn't call the cops? At the bare minimum, 77, I would have gotten in my car and tried to follow them and then called from a payphone and figured out where they stopped. I like to think that I would have done that. Yeah. And not just heard it and didn't say anything and then waited for her body to go missing and then the cops to come by. Yeah. For all we know, she called. Yeah. We don't, I don't know. For all I know, they called and that's why we know as much as we do.
Yeah, because I can barely drive past a stray dog on the street and not think about it for 4 days, let alone that. Yes. That's insane.
Yes.
Anyway.
Agreed.
So we'll just give the benefit of the doubt and think that they called.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's hope. Yeah. I'm also mesmerized that Lauren was like, "You're never going to get away with this." That sounds very angry attorney or something. Yeah. I was like, she's in that moment. She's like, "You won't get away with it." And that was her freaking putting her foot down. Poor sweet angel.
I know.
On November 14th, the naked body of 17-year-old Kimberly Diane Martin was found in a deserted lot near Los Angeles City Hall. Kimberly was a sex worker who had joined a call girl agency to avoid street work due to the Stranglers' rampage. She had been lured to a vacant apartment by her killers. Her body showed signs of sexual assault and torture. So even with her being a sex worker, she was trying to protect herself and horrible. Yeah. We finally, thankfully, miraculously got to the last victim in this moment. This is not the last victim. But at one point I thought it was.
20-year-old. You told me it wasn't.
I know. Right? 20-year-old Cindy Lee Hudspeth was discovered on February 17th, 1978. Inside, so this is 2 months later. Inside the trunk of her orange Datsun, which had been pushed off a cliff along the Los Angeles Crest Highway. Cindy, she was a student and a part-time waitress, was raped, tortured, and strangled. Her murder was unplanned. She became a victim after arriving at Angelo Buono's upholstery shop to discuss work for her car. Her killer seized the opportunity and they decided to abduct her. This makes the total to 10 women brutally murdered within October 18th of 1977 and February 17th of 1978. Just 122 days.
That's insane.
Yeah. That's terrifying.
Yeah.
How did this happen? I'm going to tell you.
Oh, okay. I was like, that's your job.
I just wanted to tell you about the victims and I'm going to go.
Okay. You were like, how did this happen? I was like, that's your job. You tell me.
It was a...
I know. It's rhetorical.
Yes. I get there we go. In January of 1976, so just a year earlier, essentially a year and a half, Kenneth Bianchi left Rochester, New York, and moved to Los Angeles, California to live with his cousin Angelo Buono Jr. Angelo was a strong role model for Ken, who was more acquiescent, if you will. He also had a history of sexual violence, so great combo here.
Right.
When Ken was short on money, Angelo had a really swell idea of let's get some girls to work for them as sex workers. Casual fucking side hustle.
Yeah. No.
I'm very confused on Ken and Angelo's everything as we go through this.
They're everything.
Everything. Their relationship confuses me on who's the power player.
Oh. You would think just Angelo. It just sounds like a stronger name. I don't know.
Than Kenneth?
Yeah. He feels like he should be the accountant, and then Angelo. It's like, Angelo.
I'm the muscle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that.
Do it.
And really,
yeah,
they both look like pussy-ass bitches to me.
I want to look them up.
Okay, well, not now.
Okay,
so why would this be the automatic idea they should do to make money? And I am making a uneducated assumption. It's because Kenneth was born in Rochester, New York, to a 17-year-old alcoholic sex worker. And that makes me sad just thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
He was adopted, though, by Nicholas and Frances Bianchi in August of 1951, and he was their only child. There were some early warning signs that probably were going like, beep, 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 beep. He was a compulsive liar. He had a quick temper. He was prone to throw violent outbursts. Although he had above average intelligence, he was a poor student and an academic underachiever. He was also known for being manipulative and enjoyed that aspect about his personality. So because of this, I believe that Kenneth was the one doing it, though they say that Angelo was the stronger of the two.
Well,
just saying.
Okay.
Anyway, in 1965, his adopted father, we're still talking about Ken here. His adopted father, Nicholas, died of a heart attack, and Frances had to go to work to support her son. In 1966, he was enrolled at Gates Chili High School near Rochester. He graduated in 1970. Then he did what everyone did. He married his high school sweetheart her name was Brenda Beck in 71. It ended after 8 months because someone couldn't keep their dick in their pants.
Oh.
So very long-lived wedding.
I thought you were going to say because they got married in high school.
That too.
I mean, statistically, it's 1 out of every 2, but I feel like it's 1 out of every 9 that make it if you
get married and it's your high school sweetheart.
Yeah.
Yeah. Titty tap.
What do you you do nipple ASMR?
Yeah. Do you guys want to hear what a nice sweater feels like up against a microphone?
Hey, somebody will.
You're not wrong.
Somebody will.
You're not wrong. And yes, you're right. I think high school marriages do not make it. And the ones that do, fucking go you guys, man.
Yeah.
Go you. And every couple that is still married and bones at least 2 times a week, write a book. Start a vlog. Start a blog. Give me some info.
Any high school sweetheart couple that still has sex twice a week?
Yeah. And still married.
Yeah.
And not boning their secretary. There's contingencies on this. I'm just saying.
We're going down a rabbit hole.
We are. Okay. So he kept fucking other women. His wife didn't like it. They get divorced. Now, what would be a good job for somebody who likes control over people?
And you're giving me a look like I should say an answer. So I don't know.
A cop.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So Kenneth enrolled at Monroe Community College and began taking courses in police science and psychology. He did poorly. He soon dropped out after an unsuccessful attempt at securing a position with the Monroe County, which was New York Sheriff Department. He found work as a private security guard. But he liked to steal from his employers, so he got fired a lot.
What the?
He is thriving.
I mean,
he is thriving. Talk about somebody who needs to start a vlog and tell us how to do well.
Vlog.
Fucking Kenneth. We need to know his tips and tricks, his life hacks.
He could do a podcast.
Yeah. So when he moves to LA, everything is kind of crazy for him. He was introduced to the uninhibited fucking California culture of sex and drugs and fucking fun and all that jazzy stuff. So now I'm going to loop back in.
Okay.
I'm hopping right back in. So this is why they started to think, oh, we could have some sex workers. Like it's fucking 2 hogs that they're buying and their feet. I don't understand. Yeah, but they started with 2 teenage runaways named Sabra Hannon and Becky Spears, which I thought you'd like the name Becky Spears because
oh my God.
I know. They were obviously in a hard spot, and once they meet Angelo and Ken, they're basically forced into sex work. Eventually, though, Becky happened to meet a lawyer named David Wood, who was like super outraged at the situation that she was in, and he helped her get out of the city.
Good.
And then her friend, Sabra, encouraged Sabra to run away, and she left too. A short time after. So 2 girls escaped.
They got away. Good.
Let's hope they had better lives. Mm-hmm. With their income gone, they felt like it was best for them to find more teenage girls. They have a business plan. They're working to make a dream come true.
Oh my God.
Their way to get in with people is impersonating police officers. So they eventually find a woman, and she's now in the same bedroom as the previous girls who had escaped. They're also making friends with other sex workers, kind of getting this like kind of filthy feeling here.
Yeah.
Like filthy. Something feels dirty in all of this. But they end up buying a trick list from a sex worker named Deborah Noble. A trick list is not for magicians.
You're pleased with that. So you know what? It is the season, the Christmas season. Yeah. I'm going to let you have that little giggle, and I'm not going to knock you down any pegs. You stay on there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So if you were curious what a trick list is.
Not for magicians.
Number one, it's not for magicians.
Houdini, get out of here, not for you.
Yeah. I am not emailing you a copy.
I'm good.
This one was a list of guys who would frequent sex workers. So it was
the dots I connected.
I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
So it's important to do that. Yeah. Noble and her friend Yolanda Washington, if you remember that name, delivered the trick list to Buono in October of 1977. I listed a lot of names earlier, but if you guys didn't realize, that was the first victim, Yolanda Washington. Now, I read in the LA Times, fucking hold your horses. Okay. Real quick. In the LA Times, in the 70s and 80s, there were 20 serial killers operating at the same time in Los Angeles.
Jeez.
20 serial killers in a city. So they had the Skid Row Stabber, the Sunset Strip Killer, the West Side Rapist, the Toolbox Killers, the Grim Sleeper, the Freeway Killer. The Freeway Killer ended up being fucking 3 killers who were committing the same style of crimes in the same area.
Yeah, that's wild.
Isn't it?
As shit.
Yes. So I'm sure I couldn't even imagine living in LA at this time.
I was going to say move
I couldn't even
away.
I don't even care if everyone's doing blow and we're free-spirited. I'd have to dip.
Yeah. No, bye.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to have to do a weird jump back here. Just a little teeny jump back.
Okay.
So that trick list came in, that trick list was in October of 1977, but the year prior, okay, in July of 1976. The only reason I'm looping back in is Kenneth had a lot of job situations going on here. Because he was terrible, that it incorporated how he started to meet other people.
Okay.
So just a year earlier, he started working at the California Land Title Company. And then he used his first paycheck to get an apartment in Glendale. While at the title company, he started dating his coworker, Kelly Boyd. And they soon start living together. She becomes pregnant in June of 1977. Bianchi proposes marriage. Homegirl's like, nah, bruh, I'm cool. But we can still live together.
She did?
Yeah. She was like,
how do you say no? Like, well, he sounds like a garbage.
Yeah.
So he was probably like, we should get married, right?
She's like, I just fucking forgot to take my pill one day. And that's the only reason why this kid's here. So we don't need to make this permanent. I'm good.
Can you not be so clingy?
Well, she had pointed out then around that time that he was starting to stay out all night with his cousin.
Yeah, I figured he was being a piece of shit.
Yes. And so he wasn't telling her anything that he was doing. And she's like, fuck that. So on February 23rd of 1978, this is like about a week before that was that other murder. Mm-hmm. Kelly Boyd gave birth to her son, Ryan, at the Glendale Adventist Hospital. In early March 1978, she was like, fuck, homeboy, I'm going to go back to my parents' house and I'm going to have my parents help me raise this little baby.
Yeah.
Kenneth is begging her for them to get back together. She finally says yes, but that he had to move to Bellingham, in which he did in late May 1978. Okay. So all those murders happened, and then he has a kid, and then his girlfriend's like, bitch, get home. And so he leaves in May. So he kind of flees the situation. Yeah. If you will.
He's like, don't mind if I do.
It feels like now is a good time.
I feel like it works out for me.
Yeah.
This is my timeline.
So, right. He rents a house and now he has a new job at Watkins Security Agency. I guess he's kind of looking like a family guy. As you know, because I mentioned that, they would impersonate police officers to gain trust. Yeah. So that they can get their victims to leave public areas, a bus bench in Eagle Rock, the Tamarind Terrace apartments in Hollywood, before they raped and tortured and murdered their victims and then left them in the hillsides around the city.
How awful is all this? We're taught to trust law enforcement and everything like that.
Right.
So there's all kinds of different ways that you can, now that people know, that you can call in. And
and we've learned, right?
Yeah, but we've had to, sadly, because
we learned because of this shit. Yeah. This, like, I remember hearing, like, I didn't know about the Hillside Strangler. Mm-hmm. Because it was a Hillside Strangler for a long time until it became the Hillside Stranglers. I didn't know about them, but I remember the criteria about cops. So when I moved to Miami, we were really like, that was a thing. You never got pulled over in a dark area. Yeah. You're allowed to make a cop follow you further to get to a public space. And that we have the right always to drive to a place where we feel safe. Yeah. And to ask for badge numbers and to call them in. So I guess lessons have been learned. But don't forget these things. Women, men, anyone, like, do not forget this stuff. Yeah, no. Make sure that anytime that you're being pulled over, that you're in a safe spot whenever you're pulled off to the shoulder of the road, especially in snowy conditions. But then to also make sure you're in a fucking well-lit area. Yeah. And then don't make any fast movements because we know them bitches are trigger happy. Anywho, so as their desire to kill continues to grow, they did what all serial killers do. They move from a safer victim, and I hate to say a word like that, so please don't rip me apart, but someone who is a sex worker, who has a troublesome past, who's a runaway, who's into drugs. They're more vulnerable. Yes, which people. Is a safer victim for them. And they moved into teenagers who were in... I'm getting phone calls. They started moving into into middle school students, high school students, and college students. Like, you're picking people who have the ability to dive into finding out who and what and where it happened. They had friends, they communicated, they told things to. Yeah. So it wasn't just meeting someone for a trick and no one knows where you went or who you were with. It was like, oh, I'm going to be with da-da-da. Well, the one that you said she was in she was a service, like with a service. Yeah. So, I mean, they had to have some way to track that. I mean, they had so. Not in the 70s. I doubt it. Well, I doubt that there was like not as good as what our pimps like to do now, which is great bookkeeping. Okay, so the city was obviously on complete edge, as you would only imagine what it would fucking be like living in LA at a time where there's like 20 serial killers and pretty much the only goal is to get home. Right. I feel like it's like to survive is all you were trying to do then. Early Friday morning of January 12th, 1979. So we have technically, murders were at that tail end of 77 up into 78. Yeah. Things were kind of quiet. But on January 12th of 1979, the Bellingham Police Department received information from the security office at Western Washington University, I'm going to reference this as WWU, that 2 students were missing. Diane Wilder, age 27, from Bremerton, and Karen L. Mandick, she's 22, from Bellevue, Washington. Now, what happened was both of these 2 girls were actually sharing a rental house on Ellis Street. I don't know why the street matters. Karen clerked part-time at Fred Meyer Super Shopping Center. I don't know why that was hard to say. To supplement money that she had received from her parents for her education. Although it was supposed to be a secret. Now, I can already tell. Let's see. I think I deleted a part, but that's okay because I know it. So, at one point, Kenneth had gotten hired and he was doing security at that Fred Meyer grocery store. So they were coworkers at one point. Probably the biggest mistake was that he picked someone that they worked with. Yep. There was an automatic link whenever we get to that horrible realization. So she was supposed to keep it a secret, but Karen had told coworkers and friends that she and Diane had been offered $100 each to by Ken Bianchi from the Whatcom Security Agency to guard a residence in the secluded Edgemore neighborhood for 2 hours while the security alarm system was being repaired. What? Yeah. Right. Shiesty dicey. Yes. It was a beautiful, sprawling, like ranch-style house. It was overlooking the Chuckanut. That's Chuckanut Bay. Chuckanut. Tell me that ain't Chuckanut. That is Chuck A. Nut. Sure is. That sounds like a fun bay. Or not. Chuckanut. Wonderboy Media is not only the proud producer of this glorious magic imploring your ear holes right now, but they're also a big deal.
Get in touch with them today to make all of your dreams a freaking reality.
From using their bangin' ass podcast studio,
where we are right now,
to creating amazing videos and editing our content like the mystical mavericks they are.
Your podcast can go further when you have a Wonder Boy.
Hit up Drew today at WBOYmedia.com.
Or text him day or night at 270.
Just kidding. Anywho, it was owned by William V. Catlow, a recently retired Georgia Pacific Corporation executive, so some fucking mansion. He was vacationing in Europe with his wife at the time. On Thursday, January 11th, 1979, Karen Mandic left the Fred Meyer store for an extended dinner break at 7 p.m., and she was supposed to come back at 9 p.m. The store manager, who obviously Karen was really reliable, became super alarmed whenever she didn't come back to work. At about 11:30, he called Steve Hardwick, who was a friend of Mandic's, who worked at the WWU security office, to see if he knew her whereabouts. She had told Bill Bryant, another friend who worked at the WWU security office, about the job. He offered to go along, but Mandic had turned him down. Hardwick and Bryant scouted both Mandic's house, the Bayside address, and other locations for the two women, or just trying to find her green 1978 Mercury Bobcat 2-door hatchback. Long name. And they couldn't find him. So two friends automatically start scouting. They knew what because they had told other people, they knew places to look, and they were searching for her. Once they realized they weren't there, they called 911.
Yeah.
After hearing the story, the Bellingham police contacted Whatcom Security to see if they had any information about the two missing women. The owner, Randall W. Moa, he called Kenneth Bianchi, who claimed he had been at the Whatcom County Sheriff's Office Reserve Unit meeting and denied knowing Karen Mandic.
Lies.
Right?
Yeah.
Police then contacted Gordon Scott, a commander of the reserve unit, who said that Bianchi asked to be excused from the meeting, claiming he had to teach a class for his employer. At 2:30 a.m., police spoke with Bianchi. That's a wild time to be talking to the cops.
I was just thinking that. First of all, he gets to just ask to leave a meeting. How do you do that? I want to do that. Like, say, hey, I got to go. Do you care if I go? I'm just going to go. Yeah. And then you get a call at 2:30 a.m. I wouldn't even know.
I'm going to assume because there's security, it was overnight.
That was so slick. How you did that under there.
I'm nailing it.
I want to see if I can
I'm parched from all this talking. Okay. I'm going to assume it's because they're overnight shifts that it was 2:30 in the morning, because my ass would not be answering a phone call. But he admitted that he hadn't been in the meeting and that he went to go driving alone in the county. Very solid alibi.
Just
Kenneth.
taking the cash drive.
You know what? Fuck that meeting. I'm going to tell them I have a thing, and I'm just going to blow this popsicle stand and drive around town.
I mean, you don't do that?
No. By morning, there was still no sign of the young women. Bellingham Police Chief Terry Mangan and Captain Dwayne Schneck visited Mandic and Wilder's house and that went far. And talked to their neighbors and friends to no avail. Convinced they had intended to return the previous evening, they ordered a full-scale investigation. I'm very happy that they reacted so quickly.
That's what I was thinking, too.
Detective Fred Nolt and Terry White were assigned to work the case full-time. They continued to beg the public for any information they may have to help find the missing women. Law enforcement agencies throughout the West were notified through the Western States Information Network about the disappearance. Everyone knows. Meanwhile, detectives obtained permission from Catlow's family to search the house on Bayside Road. So the house that they were supposed to look at. Nothing appeared out of the ordinary, but they discovered wet footprints on the kitchen floor. The WWU security office reported that neither Mandic nor Wilder had attended their morning classes, and the frantic search continues. At 4:30 p.m., Shirley Schlemmer, that's a tough name. That's a tough one. Praise be Shirley Schlemmer. Who lived on Willow Road, spotted a green Mercury Bobcat parked at the end of Willow Court North, a heavily wooded, undeveloped cul-de-sac off Willow Road, and notified the police. They rushed to the spot and they found two bodies stuffed in the car's backseat. The bodies were carefully removed from the car, wrapped in clean sheets to prevent the loss of any shred of evidence. and taken to St. Luke General Hospital. Medical examiner conducted the autopsies and determined death was due to strangulation by ligature. The Mercury Bobcat was transported to the Bellingham Police Garage for forensic analysis, and the cul-de-sac cornered off in search for more evidence. Now, the Whatcom security dispatcher contacted Bianchi and told him to report to the security guard shack at the Port Bellingham's South Terminal. Shortly after his arrival, he is taken into custody for questioning. All right, acting on a tip, they searched the area around the guard shack, and they discovered Wilder's coat, Diane Wilder's coat, stuffed behind some pipes. It's only 20 feet from where Bianchi had parked his company pickup truck. So he basically gave zero fucks.
Yeah, getting cocky now.
Real fucking cocky. During the questioning, his alibis were so contradictory that detectives believed they had found the murderer. I fucking hate Kenneth. And you're going to fucking hate him too, and I fucking hate him.
Oh.
But without any eyewitnesses or a full confession, the case would rely currently on circumstantial evidence.
Oh, no.
On Saturday, January 13th, shit got more real. Detective Nolt, realizing homeboy had a California driver's license, contacted the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department to check on his background.
Ooh.
Loving the detective work. Let's do that extra work.
I mean, one phone call.
Let's do it.
Right?
Let's do it. And that, by sheer fucking luck, he was transferred to Detective Sergeant Frank Salerno, who was a member of the Hillside Strangler Task Force.
Oh, man.
So this whole time, they were only aiming for the murder of those two women.
Yeah.
Until they called and realized what was happening over in LA.
Oh, man.
Ain't that some shit?
Yeah.
And he was the one who was investigating murders of 13 women. I think there's another 3 that didn't fall into this category, but since there was 852 serial killers, I'm sure you could get the victims mixed up there.
Jeez.
Once he heard the address on Bianchi's license, he immediately made the connection and made plans to fly to Bellingham.
Whoa.
He was like,
he ain't fucking around.
He ain't.
Here I come.
They had finally found their guy. There were many moments when the serial killer had gained the name the Hillside Strangler, that it was one person. I read that based off of the crime scenes, either like the way a body was left or the footprints or like the sliding or moving of bodies, that there were moments where they thought it was 2. So it was the Hillside Strangler all the way up until we get a little bit further in here, but that there were some people, like some evidence that made them think maybe it wasn't the same murder if the ligature marks and everything weren't the same.
Yeah.
Or murderer. Mm-hmm. And so that was the hard part about the serial killers. They didn't know who was doing what and where and when. And it just got confusing in that state. Now, I also read, and I didn't include this in here, that there was another, the people who can, like clairvoyant.
Like a medium?
A medium had come in, and they believed that it was 2 like Italian men that were related somehow, because they're adopted cousins. They're not blood cousins.
Oh,
they're
man.
adopted cousins. So there's not even crazy bloodline blood pumping through them.
That's
They're
wild. I love when cops
rando cousins.
I love when the police departments consult mediums.
I don't know if they consulted or if a medium was like...
was just called and was like, hey, guess what?
Yeah, too much other crazy shit happened that part got a little pushed out.
Yeah.
Because I only saw it on Wikipedia, and I'm like, was this some random person named Stu putting this shit in here? Was Stu online fucking typing shit into Wikipedia?
Was that the dad's name on Rugrats?
Yeah. So they worked super hard to make sure that they had the links between the murdered women and Kenneth. Their main focus was the evidence for the 2 women whose bodies were just found.
Yeah.
And then they'll get more on the remaining victims as things pan out. Sadly, we know that's how that works. At the women's house, they found a note to Karen Mandick in Diane Wilder's handwriting that Ken Bianchi had telephoned on January 9th. Also, Karen was smart. As I had said, she had told all her friends about the secret house sitting job and mentioned Kenneth's name. And honestly, in my mind, she is the reason the case was cracked.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
If she hadn't told her, I love it. She went somewhere, made sure that people knew. They knew who she was going with, where she was going. All of this, even though the guy had told her not to. And it's so sad that it didn't save her.
Yeah.
But the amount of victims it probably did save is huge.
Yeah.
Is huge. A search of her car turned up a piece of paper with the notation 334 Bayside, 7 p.m. Ken.
She left a paper trail. I'm glad she didn't listen to him when he said, don't tell anybody.
Yeah. Not only that, but she was like sending herself text messages with the details, basically.
Right. Yeah.
She wrote it down and told people. Detectives also noticed a small fresh dent in the bottom of the Mercury's gas tank, which they later matched with scraped rock under some bushes in the turnaround area of the house, the Catlow house.
This is like high-tech forensics for back in the
late
70s.
I'm really impressed with everything they did.
Normally
everything they did.
Like, there's a lot of cases where we get mad.
Yeah.
Because we don't feel like they connect enough dots, or they don't try, or make phone call. Like
make the one phone call.
The one guy said, I left out of this, I dropped her off at this train station, and he made up the name, and they didn't call to see if it was a real train station, and it wasn't.
Right.
Like, things like that. So, good for them.
Yes, I agree.
I hate shitty situation, but good for them.
Right. It's also like all those bodies turned up and it was like a year and they still never found the person.
Yeah.
Until 2 more people got killed. Oh.
Yeah. It's a lot
But I bet it's a lot of effort for those cops.
Yeah. And
when you got 20
of them.
Right.
And it's a lot faster on Law and Order.
Yeah. Got to fit in that 44 minutes, honey. A witness had also seen a man matching Ken's description in the area that night driving a Whatcom security pickup truck.
Whoa.
Motherfucker
drove a
company truck.
Wow.
Cocky little cunt. I swear.
Yeah.
On Sunday, January 14th, Detective Salerno and his partner Dudley Varney.
That's so cute.
So cute.
Dudley Varney
arrived in Bellingham to determine if there were any similarities to the murders in Los Angeles. Bellingham police served a search warrant at Ken's house and seized his clothing, as well as property stolen from places he was assigned to guard. Because once more, he fucking sucked. Yeah. They also found a bag of stolen jewelry. At least 2 of the pieces, a large turquoise ring and a gold ram's horn necklace, which sounds really cool, match the description of jewelry worn by the Hillside Strangler victims.
Wow. Keeping trophies.
And make sure you don't hide them well.
Right.
Thinking that they would never figure out that it was you. On Monday, January 15th, Bianchi appeared in Whatcom County Superior Court before Judge Jack Kurtz and charged with possession of stolen property. Prosecutor David McEachran informed the court that Bianchi was also the prime suspect in the recent double homicide, a capital crime carrying the death penalty, and asked for a high bail. They're like, yes, he's a threat to the community. Guess how high the bail was set? Because to me, this is not high.
$2,000.
Okay, well.
Did I get it right?
No, $150,000.
Oh, okay, yeah, I don't know.
But to me, it's a serial killer.
Yeah.
$150,000, I could put my house on for that, right?
Yeah.
So to me.
Oh, yeah, I think it's dumb.
But then again, I don't know if they had money. So maybe $150,000 was $1.2 million to me. You know what I mean? Impossible. I couldn't possibly have enough assets to create that.
I don't know. Yeah, I can't go backwards in money. I only know how to go forward. Like, when that's like, back then it was this much. How much would it be today? So you asked me.
Yeah.
You said not a lot. And I was like, $2,000, you could buy like a house and a car and some groceries. So.
That's inaccurate, but I get it. I totally get it. He appointed Bellingham lawyer Dean Brett to represent the defendant during future court proceedings. Now, physical evidence collected from the crime scenes, the bodies, and the car was sent to the FBI laboratory in Washington, D.C. for analysis.
And that...
Carpet fibers found on the clothing worn by Karen Mandick and Diane Wilder, as well as those found on clothing worn by Ken that night, match samples taken from the carpets at the Catlow residence. A meticulous search of the basement bedrooms revealed head hairs that matched Diane's, a single pubic hair found in the basement stairwell, along with other pubic hairs found on Diane's body, matched Ken's. And traces of her menstrual blood was present in his underwear.
Oh, I'm just going to keep going.
Mm-hmm. On Friday, January 26, 1979, Bianchi was formally charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. Although the FBI had yet to analyze some of the physical evidence, there was enough to proceed with the murder case, and the possession of stolen property charges were officially dismissed. In order to ensure a known rapist and a murderer got a fair trial,
Oh, God.
Judge Kurtz issued a gag order prohibiting anyone involved with the investigation, including witnesses, from releasing information about the defendant or his connection to the murders. In addition, the judge sealed the affidavit of probable cause, which detailed evidence supporting the murder charges. At the end of the day, this doesn't matter, so there's no point in getting rowdy. I just hate that we have to give fair trials to fucking fuckwads when that kind of evidence is there.
Mm-hmm.
That is a level of evidence. Yeah. That is
basically that's everything without
you cannot dispute.
Yeah, the only thing missing is them saying, I did that.
Yes, and us watching them do it.
Yeah.
That would probably be the only other thing.
Right.
He was arraigned on Monday, January 29th in 79 and pleaded not guilty to 2 charges of first-degree murder. Judge Kurtz ordered him to be held without bail and also handcuffed during all future court appearances.
Get him, Jake Jack.
Yeah. Under state law, the prosecution was given 30 days to decide if they were going to seek the death penalty. On Friday, March 30th of 79, Bianchi changed his plea from not guilty to not guilty by reason of insanity.
I knew you were going to say it.
Defense attorney Dean Brett said Bianchi claimed to have amnesia about the murders of Mandick and Wilder. He said 3 psychiatrists examined the defendant and concluded he suffered from severe multi-personality disorder. The judge granted a motion to appoint a blue ribbon panel of 6 psychiatrists to examine Bianchi. They ain't stopping. They're going.
Yeah.
Including a brain scan to determine whether or not he was mentally competent.
This trial is expensive.
So amazing you say that. And we will talk on that again. 2 members of the panel would be selected by the defense, 2 by the prosecution, 2 by the judge. How funny is it that they all ended up being fucking split? So 2 of them were like, yes, 2 were like, no, and 2 were like, nah. And the judge was like, I don't give a fuck. You're going to do it, pretty much. While the psychiatrists were examining him, the detectives were getting everything together for the homicide investigation. April 23rd of 79, Los Angeles Police Chief Daryl F. Gates increased the pressure on Bianchi by announcing the task force had enough hard evidence to now charge him for the 10 Hillside Strangler slayings. On May 9th, Los Angeles County District Attorney John Van de Kamp filed a complaint in Superior Court, initially charging him with 5 murders, those with the best evidence. This stuff always gets me when you have to pick and choose which victims get to go to court to make sure that they get the maximum, but then knowing that these other people know, and not 1 year of their sentence is in honor of that victim.
Yeah.
And it fucking sucks. And it's stupid.
Yeah. It would be hard being the family to be like, well, they're not going to go after me, but they'll get them for you. And then have to sit there and it's like, well, what about me?
Like if you and I were both murdered and there was just more evidence on my body, and then your family gets to just be like, well, he killed Brooklyn and Heather.
Yeah. And they have to wrap their head around
And Brooklyn got, there's one life sentence under Brooklyn, but what did Heather get? Heather Terry's name's nowhere in this.
Yeah.
Because those other names don't make it to court.
Yeah.
It fucking sucks. Because then they're only convicted of that.
It's sad.
Okay. Of course, those psychiatrists, as I mentioned, they were divided. Under hypnosis, Bianchi had created an alter ego named Steve Walker.
Stop. I need you to
who confessed to killing Mandick and Wilder and gave a detailed account of the crime. Steve also talked freely about the murders in Los Angeles that had occurred between October 1977 and February of 78, thoroughly implicating his sweet cousin, Angelo Buono.
Were they even looking at him for any of this? And then he goes night-night in front of the doctors, and then Steve tells on him.
Yep.
I'm gonna roll my eyes so back far in my head. Like,
you're gonna get to another point and you're gonna be like, are you fucking kidding me? So first I was like, oh, homeboy just got his cousin. He went in, got his cousin. They also say too that like this in this little part where he was hypnotized, 2 of the psychiatrists were like, it was so obvious he was faking.
Had to have been.
So fucking obvious. And then the other 2 were like, we got him hypnotized.
Yeah.
It was Steve Walker. And then the other two were like, y'all, I don't get paid enough.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like multiple personality disorder back then was kind of newer to the scene. I don't know for sure, just from memory. And like, so some people might be like, yes, we have to say that it's this. And then they might be like, I don't trust any of that shit.
Yeah.
He's faking it.
I agree.
Yeah.
His mental health didn't really matter at the end because when Los Angeles and Whatcom County prosecutors offered him a deal,
He took it.
he took it. He pleaded guilty to the 2 Bellingham murders and to 5 murders in Los Angeles. He would receive life sentences, avoid the death penalty, and be allowed to serve his time in California. He also had to agree to testify truthfully and completely against Buono, his accomplice in the Hillside Strangler slayings. On Friday morning, October 19th of 79, Judge Kurtz found the defendant competent and bound him for fucking trial. Whether Bianchi was insane when he murdered Karen and Diane would be left for a jury to decide. With the deal already in place, Bianchi withdrew his insanity plea and pleaded guilty to both murder cases. Now, at that point, the other attorney had withdrew his request for the death penalty. I'm going to get really annoyed. So after listening to the arguments about how Bianchi should be treated, Judge Kurtz sentenced him to 2 life sentences to run consecutively without the possibility of parole. Within 30 minutes of his guilty plea, the Hillside Strangler Task Force arrested Bianchi's cousin.
30 minutes?
30 minutes.
Woo!
Angelo Buono at his residence automobile upholstery shop. That one victim had gone into his shop.
Oh.
And they were there and they saw her and then took her. He was taken into custody without a struggle and charged in Los Angeles County Superior Court with 24 felonies, which included 10 murders, extortion, conspiracy, sodomy, and pimping and pandering.
Pimping and pandering.
Pimping and pandering.
Sounds like a song title.
Although the LA District Attorney's Office had evidence linking Buono to the crimes, they believe his fate rested in Bianchi's credibility as a witness. The acceptance of his plea by Judge Kurtz and Bellingham had rendered him a competent witness in the eyes of the law. Time to get annoyed.
Just now?
Just now.
I've been annoyed with the first 32 pages of it.
I know.
Because it's very not a good... This is a bad tale.
It's not a good tale.
It's a bad tale.
It's a bad tale. On Saturday morning, October 20th of 79, Bianchi was flown from Bellingham to Los Angeles in a leased Continental Airlines jet. Don't know why I'm telling you that. He appeared before Superior Court Judge William B. Keene on Monday morning, October 22nd, and pleaded guilty to 5 of the 10 Hillside Strangler killings, 1 count of conspiracy to commit murder, and 1 count of sodomy. The judge immediately sentenced Bianchi to 5 life terms for the murders, 1 life term for the conspiracy, an additional 5-year sentence for sodomy to run concurrently. That's a long one. Mm-hmm. After the imposing sentence, Judge Keene said, and we got this from the Bellingham Herald, "I wish I had the power to have the sentences run consecutively, but in this state, California, they must be merged as a matter of law. Although Bianchi would be eligible for merged as a matter of law," end quote. Although Bianchi would be eligible for parole in California in just 7 years.
Stop.
Officials estimated he would serve 20 to 35 years before being returned to Washington to serve his other 2 life sentences. So basically, there's a teensy chance that he would have been able to get paroled.
Why?
But it's not possible. It's just their court proceedings. Like, they couldn't do them concurrently, so he had to.
It's just a technicality.
A technicality.
Yeah.
But they were like, this motherfucker's never getting out.
Yeah. Could you imagine the parole board being like, well,
No.
you seem nice. They said you were nice in the rec yard. You didn't shank anyone.
Oh, I can't wait to tell you more.
Okay.
Bianchi began, this shit doesn't stop getting crazy. So Bianchi began violating the terms of his plea agreement almost as soon as he arrived to Los Angeles.
Of course he did.
So it became the longest preliminary hearing in the history of Los Angeles County. 10 months. He attempted to influence judicial proceedings by making contradictory statements to destroy his credibility and have the case against his cousin thrown the fuck out.
Stop. So he was just throwing a wrench in it on purpose.
Yes, to delay all of it.
What a dude.
Yes. But on March 16th of 1981, municipal Court Judge Judge H. Randolph Moore. I feel like if Judge H. Randolph Moore listened to this, he'd be mad that I didn't say H. Ruled there was a sufficient probable cause to believe Buono had committed murder and ordered him to stand trial. This dude just fucking sucked. He already killed people. He took daughters, sisters, friends, loved ones, and to make sure your community pays by fucking prolonging the fucking court and costing the city tons of money.
Yeah. Okay. What? Yes.
Let me tell you more.
Okay.
It was during the prolonged preliminary hearings that Bianchi met Veronica Lynn Compton.
No. Stop.
Age 24, who was a self-proclaimed actress, poet, and playwright. In June 1980, she sent Bianchi a letter at the Los Angeles County Jail asking if he would read her screenplay about a female serial killer called The Mutilated Cutter. What? And help her with her characterization. Yes, this bitch was writing a screenplay. No. A serial killer was in fucking court, and so she starts reading to him.
She started writing him?
I said reading to him. She started writing to him. She's like, and they're like, hey, can you help me do my character thing on a serial killer? Because you're a serial killer.
Yeah, no. If you tell me they got married or something, I'm going to throw your papers on the floor. I'm going to throw your papers on the floor, aren't I?
You are. The plot gave him an idea. What if the Hillside Strangler was still killing people?
What? Wait. What?
So Veronica visits Bianchi in jail on numerous occasions, and then between June and September of 1980, while he was waiting to testify against his cousin. They decided to partner up and prove his made-up innocence. So this woman agrees to fly to Bellingham, strangle a girl with a length of white cloth line, plant evidence to simulate the Mandic Wilder murders. Additionally, she was to send letters and cassette tapes to various locations in Los Angeles and Bellingham with messages that the wrong man was in jail and that the strangler would strike again. On Thursday, September 16th, their last meeting, Bianchi provided Compton with the final touch. A semen specimen.
Stop.
In the fingertip of a latex glove to smear on the victim's body, and he had concealed it in the spine of a book she had previously loaned him.
So,
Compton flew to Bellingham, and on Friday, September 19th of 1980, she befriends a woman named Kim Breed. Who was 26.
Stop it.
In Bellingham Parks and recreation employee while drinking at the Coconut Grove Tavern. After spending several hours together, got her nice and drunk, Veronica apparently lures this woman to her room and at the Shangri-La downtown motel on Holly Street with the promise of some nose candy. Cocaine.
Thanks for clearing that up.
You're welcome.
The cocaine.
Once there, Compton managed to tie Breed's hands and feet, her hands, and twice strangled her to the point where she was unconscious. Although intoxicated, not only was this girl bigger and unusually stronger. I want to know what unusually stronger ends up meaning. And she managed to fucking escape. She survived.
Good for her.
Compton quickly disappeared from Bellingham, but she was super easy to trace. So on Thursday, October 2nd of 1980, she was arrested at her home. Once more in the Shangri-La trailer park.
Did she have that splooge glove in her bag still?
I'm sure.
Did she fly with it? Did they have TSA?
Here's the...
could you imagine? Ma'am, I need to see your purse.
All right, well, hold on.
Okay.
So, hold on. What makes no sense is it's still his DNA, you fucking idiot.
Yeah.
So you just think someone else, it's your cum.
Yeah.
It is your nut. How do you think that anyone would believe then that the killer wasn't you when it was your fucking go-go juice?
You checking up, babe.
I just don't get it.
Well, they didn't have DNA though back then, right?
Yeah, all of that was DNA. How did they find her blood was on it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There was evidence.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think about carrying that glove around in my purse.
If they didn't have DNA, then how would the semen have mattered then either?
I don't know.
I don't know. You guys.
I just can't. I just think about having that in my purse and it makes me uncomfortable.
That's The things that make you uncomfortable versus what really should make you uncomfortable.
But just sticks out.
She is charged with first-degree attempted murder. She's held on a $500,000 bail. Tell me how her bail's $500,000, but the fucking...
She's a woman.
Which makes no sense.
Yeah.
Really, we're the weak, timid ones. You should have...
Except for that girl at the bar. Good for her for getting away.
Yeah. The media fucking loved this shit, and she got the name the Copycat Strangler. Compton's trial began. This is why this is so long, because I have to tell you this random fucking bitch that wrote in and then tried to kill somebody in the name of fucking Kenneth.
Thought she was just trying to do some killer Shakespeare.
Golly.
Run around with splooge in her purse and
she
strangle a
is
lady.
So terrible. So her trial began on Monday, March 9th of 81 before the Whatcom County Superior Court Judge Byron L. Swedberg. The case was basically a question of credibility. Bree testified that Compton set her up and tried to kill her, and Compton claimed the incident had been a charade.
Stop.
A charade to gain publicity for her new screenplay. And of course, Breed was in on it.
What?
I can't. The trial was concluded on Friday, March 20th of 81. After deliberating for a whole 3 hours, they found Compton guilty of first-degree attempted murder with a special finding of being armed with a deadly weapon, the ligature, which carried a mandatory minimum sentence of 5 years. On May 22nd of 81, she was sentenced to life with the possibility of parole due to the calculated... She was sentenced to life with possibility of parole due to the calculated viciousness of the attack on Breed. Fun facts. Indeterminate life sentences in Washington usually run about 13 and a half years, although the state parole board may review and they could get out in 7.5 years. Meanwhile, this shit, man, I swear to you, when I started this story, I had no idea that it was going to be a novel because there's so much fun. I don't even talk about Buono. If you realize, Angelo isn't even in here barely.
Yeah, I know.
He's just a fucking dude that started raping with his cousin.
Right? I like his name better.
Man, I don't like saying Buono. It feels weird. Meanwhile, in Los Angeles, Bianchi again tried to influence judicial proceedings by recanting
of course
his pretrial testimony against his cousin and then disavowing his recantations, undermining his value as a credible witness. So he tries to shoot the entire case by just being a fucking cunt and a half.
Yeah.
So then they also do kind of give a jab here. Los Angeles County District Attorney Vandekamp, who was eyeing the job as California Attorney General, was afraid of losing the case based, in his view, almost entirely on Bianchi's testimony. In July of 81, he allowed the trial prosecutor, Roger Kelly, to move to dismiss all 10 murder charges against Buono and release him.
What? No.
Yeah. But after deliberation, Judge George ruled that there was enough evidence and he made him go to trial anyway.
Good.
I know.
Fucker.
It's like, oh, I'm afraid I'm going to lose one person. And fuck, this is when I'm like, fuck this bullshit system.
Yeah.
Fuck this system. So you're basically saying, you know that this guy killed these people.
Yeah.
He is saying, this is a person that did it with me. Then whenever he gets on the trial, he just starts lying. So they're afraid they're going to lose this guy. So they drop this guy just so they can get one of the murders.
Yeah.
Fuck all the way off.
And I mean, I didn't do it.
I know, but fuck all the way off.
I'm just making sure you know I didn't do it.
Good.
Okay.
Vandekamp then declared a conflict of interest as his office had already come to the conclusion that they could not convict Buono. So the Judge George accepted the conflict and reassigned the case to a different fucking attorney.
Good.
It was then assigned to Deputy Attorney General Michael Nash and Roger Bourne to prosecute. They believed they had enough fucking evidence and they're going to be able to link it.
Good.
This shit took forever. Bianchi was the 200th witness.
Stop.
This is Buono's case. He was the 200th witness and he was on the stand for 80 days.
That's so long.
Yes. Mostly because he was a cunt and kept giving contradictory statements.
Of course he did. He probably liked the attention too.
So he would just lie.
Yeah.
He was like, so I went to fucking Hardee's on June 10th. And then he's like, I didn't go to Hardee's on June 10th. I went to McDonald's. And then they're like, so what were you doing at McDonald's? I was at Hardee's. And basically did that the whole time.
Yeah.
In a really shitty format that I just explained that, but whatever.
I mean, I didn't think you were reading from the trial transcripts.
Wouldn't that have been crazy?
What?
If I was.
Hardee's?
Yeah. Jury.
Oh.
Deliberations finally began on Friday, October 21st of 83 now.
I was going to ask you what year it was.
On November 18th of 83, after being sequestered for 28 days, the jury of 7 women and 5 men found Buono guilty of 9 of the 10 murders and voted to impose life sentences without the possibility of parole rather than the death penalty. With a duration of 2 years and 2 days, it remains the longest criminal trial in American history and cost Los Angeles County taxpayers $2 million.
That's 80s dollars, too.
Yes.
Fuck.
The judge placed all of the blame on Bianchi and listed everything he did to sabotage the case. He believed that neither Buono or Bianchi should ever be outside of the prison walls and never be released on parole. I wish for the length of this episode that this was over, but it's not. To be quick, that chick Veronica escaped jail.
What? She did?
She did. And then got caught 9 days later. She was 33. She met some 60-year-old and married him in jail.
Stop.
She got knocked up on one of their conjugal visits and she gave birth.
Wait.
In jail.
60 years old? Wouldn't it just be dust at that point?
I don't know.
Like,
I don't be fucking no 60-year-olds. I don't know.
Just dust.
It's like a dry orgasm.
Like antique splooge. Just.
I don't know how any of it's potent enough to fucking bring her home, but it did.
One swam through.
Well, she also ended up doing 22 years for that.
For what?
Because of her.
For
her fucking attempted murder shit, but then because she escaped, she ended up doing fucking 22 years. And then she also broke parole and then went back to jail.
What a ding dong.
She was the mother of the year. She did write a book called Eating the Ashes.
I didn't know where you were going to go with that.
Eating the asses.
Eating the asses.
How to get through prison by eating ass.
I mean,
I'm sure some ass was ate. After 22 years, some ass was ate.
I'm done with
It was a book about rehabilitation in the U.S. penal system, and I'm sure it was a very thrilling read.
Penal.
Angelo Buono was sent to Folsom Prison, where in 1986 he married for the 4th time. His bride was Christine Kazuka, a mother of 3 and a supervisor at the California State Department of Employment Development in Los Angeles. Because he was not eligible for parole, he was denied conjugal visits, so he didn't get to.
So she married someone she never gets to sleep with. Okay, choices were made.
She married a serial rapist and murderer.
Yeah.
And she had kids.
That's
and
what
she
I
was like,
thinking.
hey, it's totally okay to marry murderers.
You want to go see Danny? You can't. I can't either.
Dude, at some point, I'm pretty sure they tried to well, that wasn't their dad.
No, I know. Well,
I know.
Stepdaddy.
They didn't meet him. I don't fucking know.
Who knows?
He ended up trying to sue for conjugals too. And I was like, go fuck yourself. Go get some lotion, rub it out, you piece of absolute shit.
Yeah.
On Saturday, September 21st of 2002, Angelo Buono died at the age of 67 from a massive heart attack in his cell at the Calipatria State Prison. In a telephone interview to CNN, the retired Bellingham police detective Fred Nolt, he said, the world will probably be a better place without him. He will not be missed.
Yeah.
Kenneth Bianchi is incarcerated at the Washington State Penitentiary in Walla Walla on Thursday, September 21st of 1989. He married Shirley Joyce Book, age 36, in Monterey, Louisiana, in a 15-minute ceremony in the prison chapel.
What?
The day before the wedding was the first time they had ever met.
No.
But they had corresponded since 1986, exchanged taped messages, and enjoyed numerous phone calls. Previously, she had tried to correspond with serial killer Theodore Robert Ted Bundy. But all her letters were rejected.
So she had a type.
Either by officials of the state prison or by Bundy himself.
He's like, what? Okay, I'm just going to leave that.
And I actually read this one wrong. When prison officials denied Bianchi conjugal visits, he sued. It was he who had sued. But Walla Walla County Superior Court Judge Donald W. Schacht,
a lot of names in here.
there's so many people, declared that they had acted within their authority. The visits had been denied for security reasons and because he probably murdered fucking women.
Yeah.
How the fuck do you marry somebody who raped and murdered women?
Yeah.
I guess it's okay when they're behind bars. His prison term was at 116 and a half years for the murder convictions in Bellingham. He will not be eligible for parole until 2059, in which he would be dead. There's no way.
So he's still alive right now?
He is still alive.
Ew.
Should he be paroled, Bianchi will be remanded to the state of California to serve life sentences for 5 counts of murder and conspiracy to commit murder.
He ain't getting paroled.
One more moment, if I can give some call outs to the victims here. Yes. Yolanda Washington, 19 years old. Judith Ann Miller, 15 years old. Elisa Teresa Caston, 21. Jane Evelyn King, 28. Dolores Capeta, 12. Sandra Johnson, 14. Christina Weckler, 20. Lauren Ray Wagner, 18. Kimberly Diane Martin, 17. Cindy Lee Hudspeth, 20. Karen L. Mandick, 22. And Diane A. Wilder, 27. That is the fucked up, long, terrible fucking story of the Hillside Stranglers.
Man.
Angelo, Buono, and Kenneth fucking Bianchi.
Fuck.
That was some shit.
Yeah. Needless to say. Bunch of shit.
Super fast, though. Like, the murders were unbelievable. The timeline was crazy, and then they took a year, and then they...
I hope that one guy's baby it grew up to not be anything like the one that had a baby.
Ryan?
Yeah, Ryan.
I wondered that, too. I wondered that really hard.
Because if she bounced and got him away, I'm hoping that he just...
Well, she really didn't. She had him come back. He was arrested while they were together.
Yeah.
I think there's a whole concept that, and you know this, we both heard it, that becoming a serial killer is something that you were born to be. That it's, and this is just this is people's thoughts. There's lots of thoughts on it. Either you're born that way or you're made that way based off your environment. So the fact that he was adopted and you don't know the whole bloodline of who his family is.
Yeah.
I could only imagine that Ryan would fight whatever negative, weird urges he would ever feel. He would probably be concerned his whole life. I've always learned that anyone who their dad was a serial killer, and I say dad because it's very unlikely that we have 2-3 women serial killers, and it's because they poisoned families for money. That's how they got to be a serial killer, not because they killed 14 men. I don't know. It has to be a hard fucking pill to swallow.
Yeah. Hopefully he doesn't remember and got him away before he got old enough to develop.
What about the baby of Veronica Compton with a 60-year-old man?
I still don't understand
I think the kid ended up going to her parents' house to be raised.
Good, I hope so.
But you obviously have some kind of psychological... Okay, I'm sorry. If you're listening to our podcast and you write letters or email or correspond with killers in jail, you have psychological issues that probably should be addressed. So she had issues already.
Yeah.
But the level of what the fuck that creates, I can't even. That shit blew me away.
The one girl that said, "Oh, I was just doing research for the play." Bullshit. You don't go from writing a screenplay to go trying to kill someone for this person.
Yeah.
So something's already up in Pirates Cove there. The other one is you're looking for love. The other one that wrote the other lady that was writing the letter.
They had a weird, creepy type. There are women that do that, and they know that. Mm-hmm. There's a notoriety to it. If I'm gonna have a life sentence, I at least want 18 little Bettys fucking emailing me some kinky shit. about how they're
18
double
little-
clicking their mouse to the thought of me.
I'm done. I'm done with you. I'm done. We're done. That's a wrap.
That is a wrap.
That is a wrap.
Thank you all so much. Don't forget to look at Mouthy merch. We made sure that we have some great gifts ready for you this holiday season.
Yes.
Or any season for that matter.
Yes.
Don't forget, y'all. Don't get mad.
Get sassy.
And we love you. Bye.
Bye.
This episode was sponsored, edited, and produced by Wonderboy Media. Get the deets at WBOYmedia.com to see how you can make your podcast dreams a reality.
Help us out and be sure to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to our audio project. Don't forget, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at, of course, a couple of Sassholes.
Want more sass? Become a member of our Patreon for bonus content, merch, and more. Plus, we're on Cameo now, so there's even more ways to get the sass you need just how you like it. As always, don't get mad.
Get sassy.
Theodore, can I bet that